You won't believe how memorable these respectful and emotional NBA moments are. From Kobe Bryant giving Steph Curry his seal of approval to King James crying his heart out after coming back from a 3-1 deficit. These are NBA respectful and emotional moments. Let's kick things off with a wholesome interaction between Steph and Kobe. After an impressive couple of seasons, Steph finally started getting his flowers, and in a preseason game in October of 2014, he gained the Black Mamba's respect as well. The Warriors were up by 21 points with 5 minutes and 27 seconds left. But even though it was a preseason game, Kobe chose to full-court press the chef. Bryant was doing a great job of hounding Curry as he even lost his handle. But Steph didn't let up and managed to create space for the triple. And despite Kobe getting a hand in his face, Curry drained the shot with ease. Everyone was impressed, especially the Black Mamba, who gave the chef a smile and tapped his butt as a sign of respect. This moment's clearly an all-time favorite of NBA fans, as it's been viewed over 20 million times on YouTube. And I'm not surprised, because wholesome moments are where it is at, especially since we are all suckers for players who show good sportsmanship. Speaking of good sportsmanship, remember when Ice Trae and Marcus Smart chose to be respectful rather than fight? When the Atlanta Hawks were up against the Boston Celtics in March of 2022, Trae shot a 3 over Marcus Smart towards the end of the first quarter. Unfortunately for Young, Smart made his way into Trae's landing space while contesting the shot, resulting in the point guard rolling his ankle. He was in a ton of pain, and based on their past, it seemed as if things were gonna get heated between the two. But instead, Marcus came up to Trae once. He got up and dapped him up to apologize for what happened. It was great to see both men showing their sportsman spirit, rather than using the incident as an excuse to start fighting. But what's more impressive is taking the high road in a high-pressure situation. And that's exactly what Russ and Luka did. Back in January of 2023, the Lakers and Mavs treated fans to a thriller as the game went to overtime. And with the score tied at 103 with less than 3 minutes to go, things could have gotten really out of hand, because Doncic and Westbrook crashed into each other, causing tensions to soar. It looked as if a scuffle was about to break out, especially since both men looked pissed at first. Thankfully, though, the situation was diffused by both Russell and Luka, who chose to be respectful of each other instead. They calmly walked up to each other and hugged as Westbrook tapped Luka on the head to show that there weren't any hard feelings. Then we have the wholesome moment between Luka and Trae themselves. The 2020 All-Star Weekend was one to remember because every event was amazing. Even the Rising Stars game, since it had Doncic and Young playing on opposing teams. With about 7 seconds left in the first half, Luka caught the board and was bringing the ball up the floor while Trae picked him up on defense. With a shot clock winding down, he launched the shot from half court. Trae looked at him as if it wasn't even going to be close to going in before they both stood next to each other and looked on as the ball went into the net. The athletes couldn't help but smile and enjoy the moment, though Trae was also in disbelief. Either way, they embraced right after, and fans loved every bit of it. While this was a wholesome moment in which both men were happy, the next one wasn't so sweet for everyone involved. I mean, after the Jazz lost to the Nuggets in the 2020 playoffs, Donovan Mitchell was shattered, but he still chose to show respect to Jamal Murray. The series itself was straight up ridiculous as the Jazz went up to 3-1, only for the Nuggets to come back and tie it at 3 games apiece. Murray and Spida were going at each other every game, though in the end it was the Nuggets who came out on top in Game 7, and it was by the smallest of margins. Denver was up by 2, and Utah had possession, but Mike Conley missed the game-winning 3. D. Mitch was left heartbroken by the finish, so he fell to the floor in sadness and stayed like that until Murray came up to Spida and gave him props for his efforts. Mitchell instantly stood up to hug Jamal to show him that the respect was mutual, though as wholesome as that was, it's tough to beat the time Steven Adams saved Mason Plumlee from a terrible fall. During a regular season game in December of 2018, Plumlee could have suffered a serious injury, but luckily for him, Steven Adams was there to save the day. So what exactly happened? Well, Westbrook was storming down the court and soon dished the ball to Adams, who pump-faked Mason. But when Plumlee jumped up to contest it, he fell over Adams, and if he landed straight on the floor, he would have been in a world of pain. Steven wasn't going to allow that to happen, so he quickly grabbed Plumlee to ensure he landed safely. It was especially impressive that he did this, since he gave up the opportunity to score an easy bucket. It's been years since this moment, and fans still haven't forgotten about it. But do you know what's better than a wholesome moment between two athletes? One that's shared by athletes who've been best friends for years. Remember the last time King James and D-Wade faced off against each other? It was one of the best games of the 2019 season as it went down to the wire. Miami was down by 3 with less than 15 seconds to go. Wade had the ball in his hands while James was guarding him, and D-Wade let it fly only for it to miss. The Heat had another chance but couldn't make it, and it was James who caught the board before Wade came up to James and embraced his brother for life. They both couldn't stop smiling, and it was honestly so heartwarming to witness, though some moments are so emotional that players can't help but cry their hearts out. Just look at Kevin Durant's MVP speech from 2014. After going crazy for OKC in the 2014 season, KD earned himself the MVP award, and as you can imagine, it was a special moment for him. When Durant gave his speech, he couldn't help but be overwhelmed with emotion when talking about the role his mom played in his success. KD let out a few tears when highlighting how many sacrifices his mom made before telling her, "You, the real MVP." And since then, it's been one of the most famous quotes and moments in league history. Now, even though KD let out a few tears, he wasn't overcome with emotion as Steph after the 2022 finals. You see, in 2019, Golden State went from being the best to the worst overnight because KD left, and they were dealing with a bunch of injuries. So when the Warriors finally got back on top in the 2022 season after 2 years of misery, their fans and players felt an immense amount of joy. Not only were the Warriors a better team that year, but Klay Thompson was back too. After a terrific regular season, Curry went beast mode in the playoffs, and especially the finals, leading Golden State to the finish line, while earning his first Finals MVP. As soon as the final buzzer sounded, Steph couldn't control his emotions and let out an insane amount of tears because of all the adversity he and his squad had to deal with. That said, it's hard to top the emotions that LeBron and his fans felt in 2016. James was tasked with a job that no one had ever done, to come back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals. But when you're LeBron, anything is possible. James went sicko mode for 3 games in a row, and with some help from Kyrie, Cleveland pulled off the craziest comeback in basketball history. Once the final buzzer sounded, LeBron fell to the floor and cried his heart out. Once he spoke to reporters, he screamed out, "Cleveland, this is for you." The raw emotion LeBron felt in the moment was unforgettable, and so were many of the wholesome moments I told you about. It's always good to bring attention to the respectful and emotional moments in the league because they're a nice change from the usual feelings that the NBA brings out in us. On that note, we'll wrap up today's video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to Hoopers, because there'll be more awesome videos every week.